5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, now, we call this the act of mating.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Real talk.
Real talk.
Real talk. Radio.
Motherfucker, I'm awesome.
Hey there, Internet. This is ATR, and unfortunately, HBK is not with me today. But I figured I would do a quick episode by myself because I've been playing the new Doom game a lot. Let me tell you, it's fucking awesome. I know I talked a little bit about it in the last episode, but seriously, if you have played the old Doom and you haven't played the new one for the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, I believe, go buy it right now. Just stop listening to me talk and go buy it, please. You will thank me later. It's fucking awesome. Basically, they took the old Doom, which came out in the 90s and was one of the first, first-person shooters to come out. First major one, at least. And they brought it up to 2016 standards with better graphics, better gameplay. They made the speed of the game so fast and crazy, and it's awesome. Playing that game on the easiest level, and the easiest difficulty, is hard as hell, man. And, oh god, it's just great, though. Just go play it. It's amazing. So, while I've been playing Doom, I've been thinking, what about some other games that I loved as a kid? Because I did play Doom, the original Doom, a lot as a kid. What about some other games that would make, some great reboots, brought up to 2016 standards and put out on next-gen consoles? Well, I came up with a list of my top 10 classic video games that need a reboot, in my opinion. So, I only had 2 criteria for this list. 1, they had to be games that I liked to play as a kid, obviously, since this is my list. If you don't like these games, then go make your own list on your own podcast. And 2, they had to be released before the PS3. So, in my opinion, quote-unquote classic games are PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. Also, the Xbox and the Xbox 360, but the only reason I'm going to be saying PlayStation 1 and 2 is because those are the systems I played. I've always been a PlayStation kid, never owned an Xbox. I don't have anything wrong with the Xbox. I'm not going to start this whole debate, but I like PlayStation. So, again, my list, you don't like it, go make your own. So, let's get started with this top 10 list. Number 10, Army Men 3D for the PlayStation 1. Now, I'm sure as a kid, or maybe even recently, you've played with those little plastic green and tan army men, right? Well, little known fact, they got their own video game back for the PlayStation 1. And let me tell you, this game was bad. I mean, this game sucked. The gameplay was just so basic, but holy crap, I loved it. It's one of those games where you look back and you're like, why did I play that? And then you look back and say, I want to play it again. But you don't really know why. Because the graphics were, well, PlayStation 1 graphics. And the gameplay was, well, PlayStation 1 gameplay. I mean, it was basic. By today's standards, it wouldn't even be playable. But, as a kid, I would go over to my cousin's house, and he had a PlayStation 1, and I would play that game literally until it drove my cousin mad. The reason is because he knew all the cheat codes, and I did not, so every 5 minutes, I would just ask him for the cheat codes, and he'd get so mad. But anyway, if they made this game for the PlayStation 4, and they gave it better graphics, fleshed out the gameplay a little bit, it would not be a huge selling game, but I would buy it personally. And I think a couple people would. Because, you know, it'd be a fun little game. You know, it wouldn't be like this major release or anything. Like, not going to be like the next Fallout 4 or whatever. But I think it'd be fun. Just to, you know, screw around with and play. Because my favorite thing to do on that game was because they were little, you know, plastic army men. When you would use the flamethrower, they wouldn't, like, burn, I guess, like a normal person would. They would actually melt, you know, like plastic. And I don't know. I thought it was a cool little attention to detail, I guess. But yeah. So that's number 10, Army Men 3D for the PlayStation 1. Coming in at number 9, we have The Hulk Ultimate Destruction, or just Hulk Ultimate Destruction, excuse me. So the Hulk has had many video games in the past. None for any next-gen consoles, but back when he was in more popular favor and his movies were coming out, he got a whole bunch of video games. One's based off the movies, one's just, you know, made because he was popular at the time, all that kind of stuff. So one of the games that was made was called Hulk Ultimate Destruction. And this game was fucking fun. You played as the Hulk, obviously, and you would just run around and break shit. And the more stuff you broke, the more points you got, and the more fun it became, and the bigger explosions you could make. And holy God, this game was great. In fact, I kind of want to go play it right now, but I'll wait until after the list to play all of these games, actually. Anyway, Hulk Ultimate Destruction was great. And I feel like, personally, if they made a new Hulk Ultimate Destruction, like Ultimate Destruction 2 or whatever, they gave it better graphics and better physics, and honestly kept the gameplay pretty much the same, where you just run around and break shit, I think a lot of people would buy it. I know I would. I would buy all of these games if they got remade. But Hulk Ultimate Destruction for the PlayStation 2 comes in at number 9. Because it was just what a video game should be. Just pointless fun. Speaking of pointless fun, number 8, The Simpsons Hit and Run for PlayStation 2. This game was exactly what it sounds like. You play as The Simpsons, and there's a lot of hit and run going on. It's Grand Theft Auto without the guns, but set in Springfield playing as The Simpsons. Why would you not play that? I love The Simpsons. I love everything about them. They are hilarious. And this game was perfect for The Simpsons. It was funny. You got to play as all the characters. You got to interact with the townspeople. And you just got to basically do whatever you wanted. You could actually even run around and just kick pedestrians. No reason. For no reason. It did nothing for the game. But you could run around and just punch and kick stuff. And you could play as all your favorite characters. Homer, Lisa, Marge, Bart, the cop whose name I'm forgetting. You could even play as Apu, which, oh my god, he was hilarious. Thank you, come again. Alright, I'm done. Next on the list is number 7, MTX Motorax for the PlayStation 2. This game I spent countless hours playing. Basically, it's a motocross game, and it's actually a great game. You could play split-screen multiplayer. I'm not sure if you could play online multiplayer, because this is the PlayStation 2, so that was kind of a whole big hassle to do, and I never did it. But you could also create your own track, create your own racer, and then there was a story mode that, believe it or not, was really good. It was pretty much, you know, like any story mode. You start off as a nobody, and then you work your way up through the ranks of motocross and become this big superstar. And you unlock stuff and better bikes and better gear and all this other stuff as you go. And the settings were great. The soundtrack was amazing. The physics were, you know, pretty good, considering. And this game was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It even had 2 secret characters that you could unlock by beating the game, which I know for today would probably be download content, but yeah. Didn't have download content because, games actually cared about the players instead of making money. But that's a whole nother thing. I'll make a whole nother episode about that if you really want. Anyway, this game was great. The acting in it was pretty good. It was a lot of fun. So, MTX Motorax, if they bumped up the graphics and, improved the physics a little bit and just made it a PlayStation 4 game, I would buy it. I feel like some other people would too. Next on the list, a game that I know people would buy because they made games for it for the PlayStation 3, and I don't think they're going to make one for the PlayStation 4, but they should. Number 6, 007 Nitefire. The James Bond video games, as a whole, were good. Not all of them were great, but they were all good. 007 Nitefire was my favorite one, because it was my first. So, it popped my James Bond cherry for video games. And yes, I did just say that. And 2, it was a fun game. You got to feel like James Bond. It was great. And there was a split-screen multiplayer where you could play as other characters and run around in like an arena-style thing and just kill each other. And that's awesome. And even my dad played this with me a lot. Way back in the day. We would just run around and just shoot each other for hours. And, nothing says father-son bonding like virtually killing each other over and over, right? a lot of love going on there. Anyway, this game was great. They made James Bond games for the PS3, I believe. But in my opinion, the newer James Bond movies I like, but I don't know. I grew up on the classic ones, so I love those. But anyway, if they made 007 Nitefire for the PlayStation 4, that'd be great. All I'm asking would be better graphics and, improved physics, obviously. So basically, leave the game as it is, but bring it to 2016 standards. Similar to what you did with Doom. That would be fantastic. Holy crap. I don't even care. It could be the new James Bond playing as, the new actor playing as James Bond. I don't even care. But that game, oh man, I loved that game so much. My favorite mission probably had to be one of the first missions where you infiltrate the villain's, castle house thing. I don't know, it's like his big castle and he's throwing a party. And you basically sneak through past all the guards, and you go into this party, and obviously you're dressed to the nines in a really nice suit. And you can't kill anybody, but you can punch people. Not that you'd want to, because your objective is to sneak through the party and take pictures. But I would just love walking into that party and just punching guards in the face and getting caught. It would reset the mission, which was a little annoying, but oh man, I love doing it. I don't even remember the rest of the game, sadly, because the CD freezes whenever I try to load a mission. The split-screen multiplayer works, but I can't play the story mode, which was by far the better of the two. But, so unfortunately, I can't play that game anymore unless I buy another one. But they should make 007 Nitefire for the PlayStation 4. Next up, little change of pace here. Instead of running around and fucking shit up all the time, like in the past games, we got a racing game. Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2. The reason why I say both of those is because, I like them both. I like the Underground 2 a little bit better because of the more open world experience. But either of them, they should just make an Underground 3, basically. Because this game was so much fun. I have not, to this day, played a racing game with the level of creativity and creative freedom that Need for Speed Underground 2 has. You can literally make the car of your dreams, assuming it's one of the cars that are offered, but they have a huge variety of cars. Like, everything from Mazda Miata to the first Hummer, I think. And you could make them any color, any design you wanted. I mean, it was pretty cool. Closest thing that came to that was Midnight Club, I think it's called. That was another racing game where you had some really good creative freedom, because that one you could actually create your own designs. Like, you could take shapes and manipulate them and make your own actual personal design. So that one was a pretty good game. So I think that they would do, if they did that and brought it up to 2016 standards, which I'm going to be saying that a lot, I'm sorry. I think that would be a great game. Because the closest thing I could compare that to in recent time for the next-gen consoles would be The Crew, which I have, which was one of the first games I got for PlayStation 4. It's a good game. But the creativity is meh. I mean, you know, you can change, like, colors and stuff and, like, the shape of cars, but not even close to Need for Speed Underground or Midnight Club. But I feel like if they need to make a racing game as good as that for the PlayStation 4, because I'm tired of shooting games, honestly. Like, I don't think they've actually released a racing game of any significance since The Crew. So, that was pretty sad. But, yeah. Number 5, Need for Speed Underground for the PlayStation 2. Number 4, a game that they did make for PS3, but I'm going to focus on the originals. Max Payne and Max Payne 2 for the PlayStation 1 and 2, I think, respectively. They did make a Max Payne 3 for the PS3, and might as well keep up with the pattern. Make Max Payne 4 for PlayStation 4, because guess what? I didn't get to play Max Payne 3, but I've watched a whole bunch of reviews on it, and it looked pretty good. I did notice they used a lot of camera effects and, like, you know, distortion, which was obnoxious, even just watching it. But if they dropped that bullcrap and went back to, like, the hardcore noir-type Max Payne games and really, like, went back to their roots and stuff, but for PlayStation 4, oh, God, I know that a ton of people would play that. Because Max Payne is a great character with a great story, and the movie they made for him was so bad that, like, it's one of my top 5 things. If I were to go back in history and change, one of them obviously being I'd kill Hitler, another one being I would make sure that the Max Payne movie was never made. I'm sorry, Mark Wahlberg, you're a great actor, but why the fuck did you take that role and refuse to play the Max Payne games? You idiot. Ugh. Anyway, I know a ton of people love Max Payne, so I'm not even going to explain it. Bring it up to 2016 standards, release it for PS4, I will throw my money at you. Next up was going to be Ratchet and Clank, but they've already made a Ratchet and Clank game and a movie, which sucked, but the game was great, I heard, and it's only $40. So the next game I'm going to be getting is Ratchet and Clank. So because they've already released that, I am going to replace it with its counterpart in many aspects, Jak and Daxter. I love this game. I know that Ryan loved this game. If I remember correctly, Ryan got me into Jak and Daxter because he brought it over to my house one day because we both had the PlayStation 2, and I was hooked. That was it. I was gone. I bought... He brought over, I think, Jak 2? Either that or Jak 3. I can't remember which one he brought over. But I went back, and I actually bought... Oh, no, he brought over Jak 3. I bought that game, and I bought Jak 2. And they were great games. And I know this game still has a huge fan base. And people would buy it. So if any video game producer listens to this by any chance, fucking make this game happen. Bring up don't overdo it with the graphics, because Jak and Daxter are supposed to be like cartoony, much like Ratchet and Clank. But follow the Ratchet and Clank mold, where they kept the gameplay style, but upped the graphics a little bit, and, you know, brought in some new gameplay aspects. Do that with Jak and Daxter right the fuck now. Again, I will throw my money at you. And if you could release it for $40, like Ratchet and Clank is, oh god, that'd be a godsend, because video games haven't been sold for $40 regularly since the PlayStation 2, so just throwing that out there. But yeah, getting way off topic. Make Jak and Daxter happen for the PlayStation 4. That's all I'm going to say. Coming in at number 2, this was a close one. This was a close tie for number 1, but I had to throw it to number 2. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. I loved the WWE video games up until 2015. When they made WWE 2K, the first 2K was like, meh, it was alright. They took a whole lot of creativity away from it, but I was like, whatever. The graphics are better and gameplay's the same, but I bought it anyway. After that, nope. I played 2K15 at Ryan's house, and God, it was the same thing, but even less creativity, even less. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? And apparently it hasn't improved any, and I'm not gonna buy another one unless for the PlayStation 4 they take the mold of SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, keep it as is, and bump up the graphics. Don't even change the gameplay. Obviously make the physics a little better, but bump up the graphics and the physics, and you have an amazing wrestling game that everyone wants to play, but it seems like nobody wants to make. SmackDown Shut Your Mouth had creativity up the wazoo, had a pretty good storyline considering, you know, there was no voice acting, and the gameplay was fantastic. You could actually take your opponent outside of the arena, go through what I'm assuming was supposed to be New York City, take him down into a train station, take him over to another freaking arena, and then go in there. Basically, the idea was that SmackDown and Raw were filmed in two different arenas, obviously. So you could beat him up in SmackDown, take him, throw him into a train, beat the crap out of him in a train, throw him into the Raw arena and pin him there. And you could just do that. You could throw him in a shopping cart and push him around, which, God, I love doing that. You could go to WWE Live stage and, like, put him through the giant WWE logo, which was awesome. There was such a huge variety of weapons you could use. And it wasn't, like, insanely violent necessarily. Like, it wasn't like, oh my god, kids can never play this, like, you know, a scary murder axe killer game or what the fuck ever, I don't even know. It wasn't overdone, but it was a wrestling game that focused on wrestling instead of focusing on looking good and having Michael Cole talk a lot. Just annoying. Anyway, this game was great. The freedom was awesome. Storyline was pretty good. And it was a great game, and it needs to be brought back. And they need to fix the WWE as a whole, which I could make a whole nother episode about that. Because the direction that they're going in is garbage. I watched 5 minutes of Raw this past Monday, and I wanted to throw up. They did nothing but talk, and the talking was so cheesy. And it's not because I've grown up and my standards are higher or whatever. I still love wrestling. I love it. What I don't like is guys in bright pink and yellow tights talking for 45 minutes. I don't want to see that. I want to see guys in pink and yellow tights beat the crap out of each other. How hard is that? You can still have a good wrestling show and still be PG. Okay? Plenty of PG shows have violence. Tom and Jerry, duh. They friggin' shoot each other on a daily basis. We can do this, Vince McMahon. Come on. Use your head. Stop appealing to 5-year-olds and appeal to the larger market. Ugh. Anyway. Coming in at number 1, insert drum roll here, is my favorite video game probably of all time, Tony Hawk Underground. Now, before you get all up in arms and say, oh, they already did a Tony Hawk remake and it was fucking terrible, I agree with you. But that's because I think Tony Hawk and his game makers were just like, yeah, this is the last game in the contract, let's just fucking throw it out there and whatever. They went about it all wrong. They tried to make a 2016 game have an original, like, Tony Hawk Pro Skater physics and, like, quote-unquote gameplay feel I think he was going for. And it failed, and it failed, and it failed. It was probably one of the worst rated game releases of my recent memory. So, I know that producers are probably never going to make this happen, but I love Tony Hawk Underground. I love that game. Best soundtrack of any video game ever released, ever. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That was a best game soundtrack. Gameplay was fun. The story was really good. Was actually really good. Of these games, I think that Max Payne, Tony Hawk Underground, and Jak and Daxter are the only 3 games that have good story modes. Like, good plots to their games. Tony Hawk Underground is probably in second out of those 3. Just because Max Payne was beautifully written. But Tony Hawk Underground, for a skateboarding video game, has a great story. I mean, it's pretty classic when you break it down. You start as a nobody and make it to be a, pro skater. But there's a twist. You get into a fight with your lifelong best friend, and he goes one way and you go the other, and you end up, like, having a skate-off type thing to see who's better in the end. And obviously you win. And if you beat the game and play it again, there's a shortened story where basically you just punch him in the face. That's it. Like, that's the end of the game. You literally you don't have to go through the whole, like, quote-unquote boss level. You just punch him in the face and walk away. And it's hilarious. But that game was great. They need to make either a new skate game or... Okay, don't even give Tony Hawk another chance. Make another skate game, but model it after Tony Hawk Underground, please. Because the skate games were good. They were good. Skate 3 was a little weird for my taste. Then again, so was Tony Hawk Underground 2. But if they make a Skate 4, go back to either Tony Hawk Underground or Skate 2 and just follow that. Because both of those games are fantastic. But Tony Hawk Underground is a classic, and I love that game. So, those are my top 10 games that I think need to be remade and put on next-gen consoles. So, I'm going to go over them one more time. Number 10, Army Men 3D for the PlayStation 1. Number 9, Hulk Ultimate Destruction for the PlayStation 2. Number 8, Simpsons Hit and Run for the PlayStation 2. Number 7, MTX Motorax for PS2. Number 6, 007 Nitefire for the PS2. Number 5, Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2 for the PlayStation 2. Number 4, Max Payne and Max Payne 2 for the PlayStation 1 and 2 respectively. Jak and Daxter and the whole Jak series for the PlayStation 2. And SmackDown vs. Raw, Shut Your Mouth for the PlayStation 2. And finally, Tony Hawk Underground for PlayStation 2. So, that's my top 10 list. If you have any comments, leave them. If you think any of these games should be remade or shouldn't be remade, let me know on any form of social media that you would prefer. And yeah, so that's my list. I hope you enjoyed it. And let's all go play some classic video games, because I know that's what I'm doing. So I will see you guys later. Have an awesome one. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.